So I am Maha Salman. I'm the co-leader of Capacity Building Task Force of Evaluate Pakistan and also a member of the Professionalization team of Asia Pacific Evaluation Association. And I welcome you all to this event. And today, co-moderating with me is Rajini.
Yes, I'm Rajini Kayesta, and right now I'm working as a consultant, but I have got opportunity to work with UNICEF Regional Office for South Asia, UNDP, World Vision International as M&E professional. I'm glad to be here and glad to be co-hosting with Maha.
Thank you so much. So I think we should begin then. And before we just get right into the speakers and the presentations, I would like you all to follow our calendar. We're going to post the link as well. There's a series of exciting events that are planned for this entire week. So please check it out later after the event. And now for the opening remarks, I would like to welcome Anna Erika Lereza. She is the co-leader of Evaluate Asia.
Hi, thank you very much, Maha and Rajini. So hi, I am Ana Erika Lareza from the Philippines, and I am very lucky to have been part of co-founding and being a co-leader of Evaluate Asia. And for this event, many young and emerging evaluators are with us here today. I could see in the audience that many of them have joined and also part of as the organizers for this event. As a young and emerging evaluators, we all know that we have a lot of challenges that we have to face to be ordered to be part of these of the evaluation field. Starting from career development to skills development up to and other forms of to be able to develop further into the field to become a professional and fully capable evaluator. We do face a lot of those challenges, and in most of these challenges, one key way to ensure that to overcome this is to have a really strong national evaluation policies and systems that institutionalize inclusion of young and emerging evaluators, and as well as their engagement in evaluations at all levels. Having them being involved ensures that the sustainability of the evaluation field. Therefore, having YEs be involved in this event is really a one step forward towards this direction. So I am very happy to see many young and emerging evaluators be in this event as speakers, as engagement, as audience as well. And I hope that this event would continue to advocate for youth going forwards in involvement in evaluation policies and systems. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to meaningful discussions with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you for starting this session on such a bright and positive note. Now I'm going to invite the Honorable Natalia Nikitenko, who is the Member of Parliament of the Kyrgyz Republic, for the opening remarks as well.
Dear participants, I'm very happy to be here today with you on Asia-Pacific Regional Dialogue on Evaluation. And I also represent not just my local parliament, national parliament of the Kyrgyz Republic, and I'm a member of the parliament for 11 years. I also represent as a steering committee member, Global Parliamentarian Forum for Evaluation. And what is important, I would like to underline that actually all over the world, there is a growing demand for responsible and accountable governments and parliaments. There are not so many resources in the world, and careful distribution of resources, evidence-based and responsible management, good governance, they're more and more demanded by people in different countries, different parts of the world. And actually, I think that today it's very important idea, it's very important philosophy for many governments, parliaments, and people in the countries that we should come from populistic politics to evidence-based, responsible policies. And evaluation plays a great role in that process. But evaluation is not just about methods, evaluation itself, the procedures. This is about the results. This is about use of evaluation. This is about implementation. And this is obvious that for that purpose, to use evaluation, to make sure that it's implemented, to make sure that decision makers really use it and not put on the table. And evaluation really changes the world and makes the governments and parliaments more responsible, more accountable, serving people, serving nations. So there should be involvement of different stakeholders, different partners, including decision makers in the evaluation agenda. And to make sure that no one is left behind, Global Parliamentarians Forum was established within Eval Partners, and I'm very grateful to the people who organized that Global Parliamentarian Forum that for last years grew for the very serious platform that unites members of parliaments and parliaments from different parts of the world and serves the great platform of exchange experience, new practices in implementation of evaluation. When I'm speaking about responsible governance, evidence-based governance, definitely parliaments and members of parliaments should be involved in evaluation agenda, because parliaments and members of parliaments, they do have the oversight control function, distribution of budget, making legislation. And this is essential to establish national evaluation policies, to adopt proper legislation and framework to promote evaluation on the different level. So the major idea is that evaluation is for all. It's about integration. It's about collaboration of different stakeholders. It's about working together between VOPE, professional evaluators, about decision makers, parliaments, government officials. It's about like working together with international organizations and donors, which have really significant efforts, and they put a lot of efforts in many countries to develop evaluation, to implement, to build in the national strategies and policies. This is about academia and development of educational programs for evaluation on professional level, bachelor, master, PhD. This is about involvement of NGO sector, those, let's say, watchdogs that are very important in many countries. And actually, they are not really the professionals in evaluation. They are not part of VOPE, but they play a great role in many countries, seeking for human rights protection, etc. So they can be demanders of evaluation and raise this agenda as well. This is also about mass media in the information sector. Altogether, those stakeholders, when they are involved on the country level in collaboration, raising the agenda of evaluation. This is a big and serious part of building proper and efficient national evaluation policy. So I would like to mention maybe three key elements from my point of view that now are in the focus of Global Parliamentarians Forum. This is, first of all, collaboration of different stakeholders around and about evaluation agenda. This is the issue of institutionalization. It's about proper legislation, and many countries adopted legislation. Some countries already have evaluation as a part of their constitutions. Some countries have a special law, including my country, the Kyrgyz Republic. We have the special law on evaluation. Many countries adopted the proper national evaluation strategies, and many countries also tries to institutionalize evaluation within the parliaments, creating the special selected committees in the parliament, or building in evaluation as a part of parliamentarian procedures and management. So there are a very interesting process about institutionalization going all over the world. And Global Parliamentarian Forum is one of the platforms where we discuss those questions, involve stakeholders, and share experience on different models of national evaluation policies. And the other step is definitely capacity building for evaluation. This is involvement of young emerging evaluators. This is increasing potential of VOPEs, professional organizations of evaluation. This is about building professional evaluation units inside the government and parliament institutions for collecting information, for collecting data. And also this is about information and promotion. So evaluation should be heard, should be demanded, should be visual, should be known on the country level. And all those pieces, they are like parts of one solid strategy on national evaluation policies. So I will be very happy to hear today different case studies and examples from Asian Pacific regions, and will be more than happy to share the experience of Kyrgyz Republic and also discuss the role of Global Parliamentarians Forum to promote evaluation agenda. Thank you, and I wish success to the regional dialogue.
Thank you so much. Now we have remarks from Marco Sigourney. He is co-lead of Eval for Action, and he's also the director of UNFPA Evaluation Office. While we regret that Marco could not be here in person to deliver his remarks, he was kind enough to pre-record the message and send it to us. So here's the remarks from Marco Sigourney.
Maha, I have to share my screen.
Dear friends and colleagues, I am honored to virtually join you today. Congratulations to Eval for Action partners, including the Asia Pacific Evaluation Association, Evaluate Asia, and the Parliamentarian Forum for Development Evaluation, for organizing these important events in the framework of the Asia Pacific Regional Evaluation Strategy. Within the COVID-19 crisis still raging, and the climate crisis magnifying, national evaluation systems and policies are more critical than ever to get countries back on track to deliver the sustainable development goals for everyone, especially for those who are farther left behind. The need of the hour is to enhance the use of evaluation by making evaluations more responsive, real-time, and agile, to be able to inform adaptation of national development programs and policies for informed decision-making and for greater accountability and good governance. Without an influential national relations system that assesses the progress of national development strategies, too many people will continue to be left behind. To strengthen national relations systems and shape and implement national relations policies, we need to build capacities of parliamentarians, governments, civil society, academia, and key stakeholders on evaluation, including young and emerging evaluators. However, no one stakeholder, regardless how resourceful it can be, can strengthen national relations capacities alone. We need to join hands at the global, regional, and national levels to support this critical work. The first step is raising awareness, enhancing knowledge, and mobilizing national partners around strengthening national relations policy and systems. I wish this regional dialogue all the best as it embarks on these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randika, for sharing Marco's video. And now we're going to move to the remaining presentations. And for that, I will now invite Nicholas, who is the Research Associate at Center for Evaluation at the Saarland University. Welcome, Nicholas.
Hello, good day. And thank you very much again for the invitation and also the kind opening words. I would like to share my screen now. Could you please give me the rights to share my screen?
Sure.
Nicholas, just check once if you are able to share.
Okay. So it's a great pleasure to participate in this event, and I look forward to the dialogue and to learn about other case studies as well. Thank you very much again for organizing this important event. And today I will present you some findings from a research project called the Evaluation Globe. And today I will focus on some results of our first volume on Europe. And it's about the institutionalization of evaluation in Europe. And first of all, I will start with a short overview about previous research and how the Evaluation Globe idea came about. So Furobo and colleagues presented the first systematic overview about different country-specific evaluation cultures in 2002. 13 years later, Jacob and colleagues updated these findings with the first comparison of the results. At the same time, Lazaro, for example, published the first interregional comparison between Latin America and Europe. And all these authors here, Rosenstein, Meyer, Wittmer, Boyle, and Fabian, for example, are also contributed also to this growing field of knowledge on national evaluation policies, institutionalization, and professionalization of evaluation. And the focus of the most research was on Europe, the United States, and Canada. And that was the starting point of the Evaluation Globe research project, which recognizes the great knowledge gain of global comparative perspectives. And the idea was to do a research project which covers all different world regions. And by doing this, we used systematic analytical framework, which you can see here on this slide, which is elaborated from systems theory. Institutionalization of evaluation is, we understand it as a process which is unfolding in three different subsystems: the political system, the social system, and the system of professionalization. And here on this slide, you see the different categories of these three dimensions. Now I will present you some results on these categories of the first volume on Europe. So the aim of the presentation is to briefly present some aggregated findings. Then also the main focus will be on the political structures, but I will also present one or two slides on the other two systems. And then I try to conclude with some driving factors of these developments. And also, I will be very interested to learn about your perspectives in this regard from other case studies as well. So first of all, national evaluation policies and strategies. In general, we see that there's no strong anchoring in legislation processes. We only have national laws and strategies on evaluation in three countries, namely France, the Netherlands, and Switzerland. So that's the situation here. Then the next important category was the question if there are national regulations on evaluation. In 7 out of 16 investigated countries, we have national regulations and decrees. And in almost all countries, we have such regulations, at least at one sectoral level. Some more findings very quickly now. We have mixed results with regard to sectorial spread. We can speak about, we find two different clusters. One cluster where we have a broad sectorial spread and one cluster with a low sectorial spread, where evaluation, for example, where there are only regulations on evaluation, for example, in one policy field, like education policy. And another important category is the question how evaluation is institutionalized in the parliaments, in the European parliaments, and here we find that evaluation is carried out only to a very limited extent. And when it comes to the organizational structures, we find evaluation is more and more institutionalized in governments, in either internal evaluation units, in ministries, or even autonomous evaluation institutions. And in 7 out of 16 countries, we also have national audit offices conducting evaluations. Here on this slide, you see one very important result of the first volume, and it's the comparison of two indices, namely the degree of institutionalization in the political structures and the degree of evaluation use. And you see that it's that there's a strong correlation between these indices. The higher the institutionalization in general, the more likely or the higher the likelihood that evaluation is also used and practiced. So, are there some possible lessons learned? It's difficult to answer. Here I'm more interested in your perspectives on this topic, but when it comes to the European volume, we find that mostly we can say that legal institutionalization, laws, regulations, and organizational anchoring in ministries and government organizations, as well as in audit offices, in general support evaluation practice. But there are some major remaining challenges. First of all, evaluation is at risk because in some country case studies, we also see that it becomes more and more, more like something like a technical object, a technocratic tool. That's a risk here. And secondly, evaluation is also mixed up with other governance instruments and organizational practices. That's another challenge here for the further development. So now very quickly, some results on the social system. Here we find, as you see here on this slide, a surprisingly uniform result achieved with respect to the institutionalization of evaluation in the social system, as you can see here in this quote. And now some more details on this. First of all, we looked on civil society organizations. They rarely use evaluations as a management tool, and they also do not really often publicly request evaluations. So there's a lot of potential here. Moreover, citizens are often not involved in a participatory way, in participatory evaluation designs in many evaluations. There's also little public demand and also low evaluation knowledge. However, we find that in many countries, there's a great interest to learn about evaluation. And then the media system, here we find a very positive finding that we have an increasing open access culture with respect to evaluation reports. However, there's no diffusion of this open access culture into the media sphere, and the public discussion of these reports doesn't really take place. So there's also here we find major challenges. First of all, the public impact of evaluation is not fully maximized, and also the potential and added value of participatory evaluation designs is not used. So now, very quickly, some results on the system of professionalization. Here we find that we have peer review evaluation journals. We have evaluation university programs in 50% of the countries studied. We have professional associations in all countries. However, we have new countries with their own evaluation standards. So also here we have major challenges in the development of evaluation systems. We have a high fluctuation of study programs. We do not really can speak about a discipline of evaluation studies. because we have very complex publication cultures here in this regard. So also we have a lack of persuading standards, and that's a problem for the question of quality of evaluations. So here is still a lot of potential for further development. So now some remarks on potential driving forces. I want to highlight two major driving forces. First of all, the development of new public management systems, which is which relates to general public sector reforms. So that means that we replace input control through output and outcome orientation. That's an important driving force here. And moreover, also the EU structural fund is an important factor because it makes evaluations obligatory in order to obtain money from the EU. So that's why evaluations have become widespread in the EU, especially in countries which had not previously applied the concept. Two more driving forces are professional organizations and international organizations. They also shape the country-specific discursive setting for an effective evaluation policy design. We see this, for example, in our second volume, where we had a case study on the Inter-American Development Bank in Latin America, and that's another example here. Also, we have shifting intra-academic paradigms, namely, the behavioral sciences are on the rise, and that also has a great potential to strengthen evaluation studies in the academic sphere. So, now my last point on this presentation are some conclusions, and attempt to understand these empirical patterns. We see that that the institutionalization process mainly takes place in the political system. In the social system, there's the social system contributes only very has a low impact on the institutionalization. And the professionalization system, there we find that we do not have spillover effects on the other two systems, despite quite high degrees on this scale. And that's actually an interesting result. And here I come to the term of structural coupling developments. It's a term of Niklas Luhmann. Unfortunately, I cannot go into detail of this concept now. However, I just want to tell you that in this case, we do not have structurally coupled developments of national evaluation systems across Europe, because we do not have strong links in the communication structures between these single subsystems. And that's what this concept is actually about, the strength of communication structures between these subsystems. So finally, I want to highlight one important aspect, the fact that organizations play a very important role also in shaping these empirical patterns, which are discussed right now. But here we still need a lot of more research in the future. And the next volumes of our Evaluation Flow project also will cover more international organizations in order to complete this picture. They are important because they translate between these different systems and system logics, and thus allow for structural coupled developments. Here are some institutions or actors which are important: universities, professional institutions, parliamentary groups. All these actors provide such translation capabilities. When it comes to the European volume, viewed interregionally, this potential was only slightly utilized. So 2 points here. I think that parallel capacity development in all 3 systems can contribute to these spillover effects and thus strengthen evaluation systems. And also, as I mentioned before, we need these intermediaries and translators between the different systems because they play an important role for meaningful follow-up communication, a term of Niklas Luhmann, and they support, by doing this, a sustainable institutionalization of evaluation in all 3 subsystems. So thank you very much for your attention. I'm looking forward for the further exchange and yes, to learn from each other. On this slide, you see my literature references. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, for your presentation. Now we have, it's time for the discussion. I'd like to call upon Veronica Felsis to discuss on key highlight of the presentation. And for your information, Veronica is the Secretary of International Organization for Cooperation in Evaluation. Veronica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Do you hear me well?
Yeah.
I'm very glad that we were invited as IOC to especially appreciate this research, which is very important for us in Europe. There were different conferences in Europe, both national and regional, during which several of the researchers from the study have been presenting the results already for several years. And it's really important that we hear more and more of analysis, not only the results, direct results of the study, but also of the analysis that is coming. And I very much appreciate that sociological look at it through the Luhmann's social systems theories. I want to also say that I think for IOC, it's especially important because we as an organization that carries for VOPES, but also for the national evaluation systems. And this is a very important contribution to the eval agenda as well. And it gives a very good grounds as well to have that systematic look at the next eval agenda. So I very, very much appreciate this. And I also see lots of interlinkages between what Natalia said and what Niklas was showing in the research about the importance of all those 3 systems between this political, social, and professionalization systems, which Natalia was mentioning as the education and the parliamentarians' role and the NGOs' roles in the society and the involvement in evaluation. I would hope as well that this would thrive as a regional dialogue in Europe, and that would give a very good base for us to have this sort of collaborative, more democratic process as we do see in Evaluation Asia. And I think this is what I'm constantly as IOC representative trying to support, to also learn from your Asia Pacific experience of how you build up this dialogue. So as a last sentence, maybe I think that VOPES have a very important role as those intermediaries who are continuing that meaningful follow-up communication to build that sustainable institutionalization. And I hope for more collaboration between us in Europe with the Niklas team as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. And now I'm going to invite Yatin Devarkar and Samandar Mahmoodi, the NEPS team leads, for their presentation of the study.
Thank you, Maha. I will not take much of time as we are running a bit behind the schedule. So this is a summary of our findings in the NEPS study that we did in Asia Pacific region recently. The report was published a couple of months ago. I hope many of you had the time to go through that. Can you go to the next slide? Next, yeah, thank you. So the previous one. We decided to do this study, the background slide, the one before. We decided to do this study as a follow-up of last year's NEPS dialogue, which we had last year in December 2020, to understand what is happening in different countries in the region, and also to get an idea of what we can do, how we should follow up, understand what NEPS, what is happening in the field of NEPS across the countries in the Asia Pacific region. The study was designed as a survey. No, the previous slide, the methodology slide. Yeah. So it was designed as a survey along 4 dimensions of evaluation systems. It was sent out to all the WOPEs in the Asia Pacific region. We had responses from 14 WOPEs. We also sent some follow-up questions to each of them to get further clarity on what we were asking them about. And the question has been kept simple so that we can repeat it every year and track progress of countries over the years. We will also add some new questions every year to get some further perspectives, further in-depth understanding, to track changes and activities which are being done by the countries. And this provides a direct action point to WOPEs in the region to follow up with the national governments. Next slide. So these were the 4 primary dimensions of the study: enabling environment, institutional capacity, individual capacity, and use of evaluation in SDG implementation. And we had questions on each of these dimensions as in the definitions. Next slide. So the first one was enabling environment, and we see that only one country has institution has evaluation in the constitution itself, which is Nepal. 2 countries have an evaluation policy, Sri Lanka and Philippines, while 2 have evaluation act or bill passed in the parliament, and 3 countries have parliamentary forum for evaluation. Can you go to the next slide? It is interesting to note that Japan, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, which have parliamentary forum for evaluation in their country, are also the countries where we have integration in their constitution or act or bill or some institutional mechanism. So we feel that the role of parliamentarians in the entire process is very important. Next slide. So the next dimension is institutional capacity. So we asked whether there is a designated public institution for evaluation at the central government level. Most WOPEs responded yes. Then we asked about presence of evaluation guidelines and standards. So here the percentage comes down. Roughly half the countries have some sort of guidelines in place, but most countries do not have standards in place. When we asked about a designated cadre for evaluation in the public institutions, most countries do not have a different cadre for evaluation, but they do have some sort of an allocation for national budget for evaluation. Next slide. Only the 6 countries which have evaluation guidelines are Bangladesh, Japan, Nepal, New Zealand, Philippines, and Republic of Korea. And 3 of these also have evaluation standards. And we feel that it is also the WOPEs who have been active in these regions who have supported the countries in setting up the guidelines and standards, etc. And so we see that although designated institutions are present in most of the countries, their capacities are still weak in terms of presence of guidelines and other linkages with other institutions in the region. And most countries seem to be working on this currently. Next slide. So when we come to individual capacity, way to measure how the sector is professionalizing and what avenues are present for individuals to build their capacity, we see that there are hardly any countries where we have any university degree programs or short courses on M&D. Only 3 countries have something. Only 1 country has a code of ethics for evaluators, and 1 has something of a draft. And competencies are clearly defined only in 1 country, while most countries do not have these things in place. So we see that overall individual capacity is pretty weak in the region, and even efforts to build it further through creating degree programs and everything need to be really ramped up, and we need to learn from each other and from our Western counterparts about the degree courses, etc. Next slide. So the last section is the evaluation of and its relation to SDG implementation. We see that about 9 of the countries which we surveyed have public institution for SDG implementation. A designated institution is there which coordinates implementation of SDGs in the country, tracks indicators, collects data, etc. When we ask whether that institution for evaluation in that country and the SDG implementing institution is working together hand in hand, the number of countries which responded yes comes down seriously, and some do not have a clear idea about that. When we ask whether M&D is embedded into SDG implementation, the answer is yes, only in 4 countries, while another 4 countries say it is partially. Somewhere it is monitoring which is embedded through tracking of indicators, or somewhere evaluation studies are also being done which are supporting the SDG implementation. And most countries have already presented VNRs. If we ask the country representatives about these questions, especially the government representatives, they might say that yes, we are using monitoring and evaluation in our SDG implementation, but a clear idea of that does not get reflected in their VNRs or in the documentation about the SDGs on their designated public institutions websites. So these are the primary findings that we have in the study. I will now request Samanda to come up and discuss the rest of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yatin, for presenting the key findings from National Evaluation Policies and Systems study. I will briefly talk about the key recommendations coming out of the study. The first is for VOPEs. Here in this event, we have a lot of VOPE representatives and colleagues from around the world. So for the VOPEs is to engage with their governments, with national governments, in creating a more conducive, enabling environment for evaluation, where evaluation can thrive, and for APIA and other stakeholders to support VOPEs in engaging with governments, parliamentarians, academia, to promote the role of evaluation. And for the parliamentarians forums for evaluation, they should create a lobbying for national evaluation policy and systems and bills within the parliaments in their governments. And also capacities are very important at all levels, on the demand side and supply side. So there should be capacity building to support dedicated institutions for evaluations, such as VOPEs, think tanks, and institutes who provide capacity building in evaluations. And finally, VOPEs must work with academia to introduce EMINI degree programs. We have very good examples in the region. For example, in Sri Lanka, in India, in Nepal, there are certain universities that have started courses in partnership with VOPEs, which is a great success. Next slide, please. There are some action steps for all of us today here and also other partners to implement. And the first is to repeat this dialogue on national evaluation policies annually every December. So this is the second, and I'm happy it's happening. This will create knowledge, enhance knowledge on NIPS, facilitate sharing of experiences and good practices, as we are hearing today, and mobilize country partners for further strengthening of the national evaluation policies and systems. We also have action steps to revise and repeat the survey, circulate model national evaluation policies amongst VOPEs and governments, share model syllabus or curriculums of evaluation trainings and programs, and encourage parliamentarians connected through parliamentarians training that was recently organized jointly by IPDET, Asia Pacific Evaluation Association, and the Global Parliamentarians Forum for Evaluation. These can be important partners. Next slide, please. Purpose of the study and the dialogue. So this is actually the outputs from the study, documenting the latest status in 14 countries, discussion on countries' status and peer learning, and establishing baseline for national evaluation policies and systems in the region. So this is in line with the theory of change that we have developed for the national evaluation policies team within the Asia Pacific Regional Evaluation Strategy. I think that was my last slide. Yeah, thank you. First, we would like to thank all the VOPEs who have responded and provided very, very important information that has enriched the study that we have conducted. However, it was a mixed method. In addition to responses from VOPES, we also used disk study and research to complete the report. And we also thank Asela Kalugampetia, the president of APIA, for his motivation and guidance throughout the study. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to produce a high quality report. The Secretariat of APIA in the past year for supporting the study is also very much appreciated. And in particular, the authors of the study, Yatin, Randika, Dimel, and Hasiti. Thank you so much. Thanks for attention.
Thank you so much, Yatin and Samandar. Now it's my pleasure to call Dr. Soma De Silva to discuss on the presentation. And just to let you know that she is a former president of IOCE and also former regional evaluation advisor for UNICEF Rosa. Dr. Soma, floor is yours. Dr. Soma, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Yes.
Right. Thank you, Rajni. First of all, let me congratulate the study team for a wonderful study. It's relevant, it's very much needed, it's very well done, and it's a longitudinal study, so that means it will have much use, very appropriate methodology, useful findings, and the recommendations are actionable and have potential. So I'm so glad to see such a good study in the region. Next slide, please. Yes, can you just go on? Because, yeah, right. So I will not focus on the findings. They were very well presented by the previous two speakers. The summary of this is, with respect to enabling environment, much progress is needed. So suggested action, the way forward would be to mobilize governments to develop national evaluation policies. Can we move forward? Next slide. In terms of institutional capacity, again, we see urgent action is needed. So needed action is, can we have a region-wide institutional capacity generation program, not ad hoc, not from time to time, but an overall comprehensive program, which somebody would sponsor and see that it happens. Let's move on. And in terms of individual capacity, again, the situation is not something that we can be happy about. So academic training is a priority. And action is that my proposal for your consideration is design and support the implementation of a standard academic diploma and master's programs. These are not easy things, but things that need to happen. Yes, next slide. SDG implementation, again, we see that countries have submitted the VNRs, but MNE is not integrated in the implementation, which means the results are not being achieved. That's transparent from the presentation that was made and from VNR reports. So again, advocate for use of MNE in SDG programs. Last slide, please. So if we were to summarize here, I could just pick out from the study, and also I think it's very much in line with the previous speakers, like 4 pillars. NEPs must be developed, and comprehensive MNE systems must be put in place, and MNE must be integrated in the development programs. And to do all this, MNE must be included in tertiary education. And I think these seem like focus areas, strategic areas, pillars on which evaluation can rest to make sure that development results are achieved for people. So APIA could probably, and I'm sure it can, it's very capable, judging from what it has been doing. Can it play a catalytic role? What is that role? How should it be played? So a discourse on this, I think, could be very, very useful and strategic. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank
Soma. And thank you so much, all the participants, for being with us till this time. We'll just take a very brief break right now. And so it's going to be just for 5 minutes. And well, within that time, if anybody would like to do this puzzle, word puzzle, then please feel free to go ahead. And the words are already given there. So you can either write you can just let us know how many words you were able to find out in the chat box, or you can use this feature called a note and circle the words. Yeah. For those who want to circle the words, you can just go to view option at the top of the screen. And then there is a feature called a note. And so when you click on that, you have this draw line where you can just get a you can just draw a circle, and you can clear it, erase it, or again do it. Please feel free to do so. So we will just have 5 minutes for this, and please enjoy the word puzzle. And those who want to just go and grab a coffee or something, please feel free to do that. Thank you.
Enjoy the puzzle, guys. We'll be back. We'll join you shortly after 3 minutes. And let us know if you're able to circle the words, and if you need us to guide you again how to use the note function. We can already see people circling in on the screen, so that's great.
So we have this very interesting word over here. It's called acela. Those who find, yeah, I already see somebody find, yeah.
Please bear with me. I'm just going to fix the screen in a minute. Just a heads up, so we're going to have country presentations after this puzzle break.
It's great to see that most of you, I mean, we already see that all the words are already been found. And I hope all of you were able to do it. We'll start in another few seconds, I guess, right, Maha?
Yes, absolutely.
Shall
I
we
think
start?
we've
Should I
got-
remove?
So I think we found all the words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shall I just clear the screen?
We can move to the next slide.
Okay, perfect.
Is it visible?
Yep. Yes, it is.
All of it, right? I just did some
Yes.
settings.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So welcome back. I hope you're all refreshed after the puzzle. It was fun, right? Okay, so now we're going to move to another exciting bit of this NEPS dialogue. And now we're going to be having country presentations on status of national policies and systems. And for that, I'm going to invite Phonsho Choden, who's the chairperson of Evaluation Association of Bhutan, for her presentation. Welcome, Phonsho.
Hello, greetings from Bhutan, and I will straight away begin my presentation to avoid delays. So talking about the institutional arrangement for evaluation in my country, we have a state audit institution called Royal Audit Authority, which play a critical role in practice of good governance. And it conducts performance audit, which is like a close cousin to evaluation, I think. And here is the link to the institution provided. And currently, there are no regulations or guidelines on use of evaluation in practice in my country. And our national evaluation policy and protocol are under draft and yet to be endorsed by the policymakers. And Research and Evaluation Division in Gross National Happiness Commission conducts the mandated audits, and reports are published online, and the web link is given here. And recently, our government has launched MIS to track the progress on SDGs, and the platform is called DEWA platform, and link is provided here again. Next, please. And talking about the capacity of WOPE, our WOPE has 37 members currently, representing different sectors in the country: government, CSOs, private sectors, INGOs, and corporate body. Unfortunately, we have not been able to attract the attention of academics at the moment, and which WOPE has initiated activities to reach out to them through awareness campaigns. And in the last 12 months, we have interacted with our WOPE mainly through webinars, meetings, and also we could do some publication and updates through emails and WhatsApp, and also informal catch-up sessions. We have Evaluate members very active, and no parliamentarian forum at the moment, and no thematic group, but we want to plan it, initiate it very soon. The next, please. Next slide. And with the partnership for NAPS, EAB itself was established with the support from the GNHC, which is a designated institute for evaluation. And our WOPE members and the Evaluate members are the evaluation champion, and we work very closely each other. And we have done awareness campaign, capacity building activities with our CSOs and our evaluators. And our next plan is to meet with the parliamentarians and academics. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Phunso. Now we have Kanchan Lama, President of Community of Evaluators from Nepal. Kanchan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone. Our national M&E bill is drafted in 2019, tabulated in the parliament by the cabinet. You can see in the website I have given here. Then, okay. Okay, thank you. And the National Planning Commission of Government of Nepal provides national guidelines for evaluation, and also many guidelines English in PDF you can see in the website. For it is given for provincial level, federal and local level, and for evaluation of GOs and NGOs and NGOs, Social Welfare Council is the body and the government of Nepal who prescribes a separate guideline for monitoring and evaluation. It is done in 2007 becomes Sambat. The website is there. Monitoring and evaluation framework Nepal health sector has a dominating, a role in guiding in the ethical guidelines, even if it is not yet formulated, finally, but it is there. The National Planning Commission is the apex advisory body of government of Nepal that formulates a national vision, periodic plans, policies for evaluation. There is no administrative mechanism besides NPC guidelines so far. Government-sponsored evaluation reports are published in the NPC, National Planning Commission website. I'm not very sure about MS tracking the web platform, but Government of Nepal published SDG monitoring report, SDG baseline report, final 29 June 2017. That is given in the website. Next slide, please. We have some BOPs, 3 are known, but one is ongoing now in their formation. In the Community of Evaluators Nepal, from where I'm, Nepal Evaluation Society, the Society of Monitoring Evaluation, Parliamentary Forum of Evaluation Nepal, we all work very closely. And 5 thematic group at the Community of Evaluation we have formed: evaluation in federal governance, professionalization of evaluation, SDG and evaluation, equity focused on gender responsive evaluation, and youth and evaluation. And of the total members of BOP, it is under review. I'm sorry, I could give you the information. And we all the BOPs periodically interacted with its members through webinars, in-person meeting, AGM, holding annual general meeting, and online meetings. BOPs do not yet don't have any specific group. However, COEN coordinates stakeholders, consultants, in consultations frequently, including other BOPs. Next slide, please. So far, arranging formal MOUs are occasionally done on activity based for working agreement. Not yet any formal arrangement on a long-term basis has been achieved. About champions, we cannot, as Puncho mentioned, maybe we are also champion, but we have not yet defined that. And action plan is integrated into the national many plans, so no champion has been identified so far. So reviewing and updating the National Evaluation Integrated Plan is under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kanchanji. It's okay. So we're just going to have a very quick poll before we go to Sri Lanka. So it's going to be a flash poll, just 45 seconds for you to answer. I'm going to launch this poll and you'll have to answer it. Here you go. Can we see the question?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So what advocacy initiative actions that you are aware of that your association, society, or a country has been undertaking? So the options are available, and we already see the responses coming in.
Yeah.
And let's give a few seconds.
Just a short reminder for the audience that we will be taking questions after the country presentation. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box right now, and we'll take them later.
Okay, so I'm going to end the poll because majority of you have already responded. And so let me share the result. So we see here that majority of you have mentioned that develop and advocate evaluation policy, legislative and regulatory act in the field of evaluation. That's being done in most of the places, which is great. And we also have a significant number of our participants mentioning that there's a good engagement with the policymakers. Sorry about that. Policymakers and government officials, and some of you have mentioned that there is a initiative being taken on establishing linkages with academia and private sectors. Thank you so much. I'll stop the sharing here. Let's go ahead with the presentation now. So now we have a country presentation from Sri Lanka, and for that we have Suchira Surangana. He is the board member of Sri Lanka Evaluation Association. Suranga, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Rajini. Let's go to the presentation. This is on evaluation policies and capacities of Sri Lanka. Our national evaluation policy approved by the Cabinet of Ministers in 2018, a few years back, and the Parliamentary Select Committee on Evaluation was formed, and they recommended to have a National Evaluation Act and a National Evaluation Commission, which is in dialogue now currently, and dedicated institutional architecture. When it comes to the evaluation, the national level dedicated institution is the Department of Project Monitoring, Management and Monitoring, which is under the Ministry of Finance. And apart from that, there are many units attached to line ministries as well. And budgetary provisions, although there are no national level budgetary provisions, but budgetary provisions are available for mega projects. And also establishment of evaluation information management system was established with the support from UNDP and ADP. Development of information, development information management system is currently doing by the Ministry of Finance. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Capacities of office. National Sri Lanka Evaluation Association was established in 1999, almost 23 years back, and Sri Lanka Parliamentarian Forum was launched in 2016, which is currently functioning. And youth Evaluate chapters attached to SLEVA was established almost 2 years back, and SLEVA normally conduct monthly webinars and series of trainings programs for capacity building of IEs and evaluation professionals. And SLEVA started professionalization of evaluation and evaluation project, and come up with some resources like competency framework for evaluators, competency assessment pathway, and the calibration manual, and we completed those in this year. So, next slide, please. And the partnership, when it's come to partnership, the postgraduate diploma in monitoring and evaluation was started by University of Sri Jayawardenepura, and 4 batches now completed, and it will be upgraded to a master degree in next year. And a center for evaluation was attached to University of Sri Jayawardenepura, and a certificate course on evaluation will be started from next year as a function of Center for Evaluation. And some institutions like SLEDA and PIM offer evaluation as a module in their programs. And SLEVA, apart from that, SLEVA partner with APIA and other institutional workplace and national, international, and INGOs and NGOs and private institutions for capacity building of evaluation in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now let's move on to India. For the presentation, we have Alok Srivastava. He's the co-leader of Evaluation Community of India. Alok, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So the first slide, thank you. As far as the evaluation is concerned in India, I think from last 70 years, we had this program evaluation organization, and now we have development monitoring and evaluation office. So evaluation is in the air, but we don't have, unfortunately, the national evaluation policy. The draft has been developed by the WOPE Evaluation Community of India and shared with NITI Aayog, and they are very promising to look into it. As far as evaluation of the programs are concerned, policies are concerned, there is Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance, which has made it mandatory for the ministries to look into the centrally sponsored programs, schemes. At the state level also, government take up from time to time, but only one state, Karnataka, have evaluation policy per se. Though it is not mandatory for the organizations to put reports and for DMU also, but recently they have uploaded, and you can see the link and visit there to have some of the recent conducted sectoral evaluations. As far as SDGs is concerned, dedicated team at NITI Aayog is there to look into the national and state level progress, and is a dashboard also. You can see the link and visit it. The next slide. I'm representing Evaluation Community of India, and we are doing a lot of things since 2015. We have, along with ECOI, Evaluate India, supporting and promoting evaluation culture. We have Eval Gender, and the link is there. Apart from that, India is such a big country, and we are promoting state chapters, and we have two, one in Gujarat and Maharashtra. As far as representation of stakeholders is concerned, I would say that it's a mixed representation, with majority, of course, from the practicing evaluators, but also represented by academia and government officials, part of this Evaluation Community of India. Evaluation Community of India also do a lot of advocacy in terms of bringing out newsletters, have Google group, organize and support webinars. And we also have emails where members exchange views, and we do share links of publications. And next slide, please. As far as Partnership for National Evaluation Policy is concerned, ECOI has signed a letter of intent with DMU, and in the NITI Aayog, the highest policy making body, and an MOU with Shri Shri University, one of the private universities in the state of Odisha and down east. ECOI also continues to engage and do advocacy with parliamentarians, government officials, and academia. We organize some short-term courses, and also with private universities, and CSOs and NGOs are also there to promote evaluation. We also engage with multilateral and bilateral agencies. So we are doing a lot of things to promote, popularize, and make it participatory in terms of engaging evaluation. We organize Eval Fest, and this year also in 2022, we have an Evaluation Fest coming up, and we participate in different programs and policies by DMUs and support them. That's all from my side as far as India is concerned. Thank you. Next slide.
Thank you so much, Alok. Thank you for sharing what India is doing. Now I'm going to invite Kudratullah Jahid, who is the board member of the Afghan Evaluation Society, for his presentation. Welcome, Kudratullah.
Thank you, Maha, and hi everyone. I hope you can hear me well. Before presenting, the story of Afghanistan, and especially in these platforms, when I present the story now, it's a totally different thing than just before August 15. So yeah, it's a lot of emotions when I talk about Afghanistan, and especially with regards to system and the government and what we had and what we have now. So even when I was preparing for this presentation and reading my notes, before August 15, there was a totally different scenario in Afghanistan, and I'm not sure if some of you are aware or not, but in Afghanistan on August 15, a major political shift happened. An established government for over 22 years that had existed there, it's no longer in Afghanistan, and now Afghanistan has I'm not sure what kind of system or regime is running the country, but we do not have an established government. The achievements and the systems and institutions that were established in the country for the past 20 years they no longer exist. The institutional memory that was established, the capacity, the institutional development that had happened, it has almost all, it's almost multiplied by zero. I think, and I believe that it will take years for Afghanistan to recover from this. With the lack of that capacity, with the lack of that institutional memory and those institutions, Afghanistan's achievements in the immune systems are also no longer existent. So going to the next slide, just presenting with you something very quickly. Afghanistan we had conducted multiple M&E assessment, and there was a very broad national M&E assessment that was shared with the President's Office and donors community. A national M&E policy framework was drafted and shared with the stakeholders, and it was sitting at the President's Office. Next slide, please. There were a number of national institutions, including the President's Office, Ministry of Economy, serving as the SDG Secretariat, Ministry of Finance, the Joint Anti-Corruption and M&E Committee and Commission, the National Statistics Information Authority, and other offices within different government ministries were responsible and engaged in evaluations. And next slide, please. And various other national, international development players were engaged, but unfortunately, they are no longer. I mean, everything has changed and it will take time, but just a quick snapshot of Afghanistan. I encourage you more to read, and if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us at the Afghan Evaluation Society. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Qudratullah, for sharing the story, and we wish you all the best of luck. Now I'm going to invite Takaki Miyaguchi. He's the member of International Exchange Committee of the Japan Evaluation Society. Taka, the floor is yours.
Right, thank you. I hope people can hear me and see the screen all right.
Absolutely.
Okay, right. So let me just continue. The first slide, please. Next one. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the government of Japan has established the Administrative Reform Council. This is actually the beginning of the 2000s, when previous Prime Minister Hashimoto, he was quite keen to reform the government administrative structure. And thereby, through this council, we had this law, also presented by the previous presenter, a law concerning policy evaluation by administrative organization, and that was in 2001, which went into force and effect in 2002. And through this law, all ministries are obliged to conduct policy evaluations and submit reports to National Diet. And the Minister of Interior is designed and asked to consolidate results and publish annual report. Next slide, please. So in Minister of Interior, there was a new division created, and that is made to become responsible and accountable for consolidating and publicizing evaluation reports. And again, through this guidance of the division, all ministries are now obliged to publish this evaluation report and inform public online. Next slide, please. And here I am representing JES, Japan Evaluation Society, which was established in 2000. And as you might notice, that this can seem to correspond to the emergence of the law. And me as a one small member, but I am pretty sure that Japan Evaluation Society has contributed some to the creation of that law. Currently running with slightly less than 500 members. And so this society has been giving academic contribution and training. And the Ministry of Interior, they organize regular training for central and local government staff. Thank you. Next slide, please. And so since 2000, I mean, this law has passed and went into force in 2002. And so roughly 20 years has passed since the institutionalization and national evaluation policy. But of course, policy evaluation in Japan, in this country, especially policy evaluation is losing its substance and may not be seriously regarded. And the scholars, of course, have been actively evaluating these 20 years, but again, so much debate happening, and not so many papers have been written with this law, for example, mentioning. So there is also the debate about auditing, inspection versus evaluation, what it entails, etc. So that type of discussion never ends. But still, we are very much proud to be part of the evaluation community in Japan. Next slide, please, and that's my presentation.
Thank you so much. So now we'll quickly have a quiz. Who doesn't like quiz, right? Again, you have just 45 seconds to answer it. And so here's the quiz for you. Which country in the region has been able to include evaluation in their constitution? India, Cambodia.
Yes, and hopefully if you were listening throughout very attentively, you would be able to answer it. So the options are India, Cambodia, Nepal, Bhutan, and Malaysia.
Okay, I see the responses coming in. A few more seconds we'll give, and then we'll end the poll.
Think we're good to go?
Yep. So here's the result. Yes, absolutely correct. 76% of our participants have mentioned that it's Nepal. Yes, Nepal has been able to include evaluation in their constitution. Thank you so much. So now let's carry on with our country presentation. Next is from Pakistan, and we have Kazim Abbas Shah, and he's the Director of Planning Commission, which is under the Ministry of Planning, Development and Special Initiative, Pakistan. Kazim, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Okay, the institutional arrangements in Pakistan. So we have at the apex body, that is Planning Commission, that is chaired by the Prime Minister, that actually facilitate in the planning and oversee the implementation, and then M&E of those PSDP funded projects and even donors funded projects across the country. And then we actually, I'm actually part of this Planning Commission, and especially the M&E wing of this Planning Commission. So we actually then oversee the 42 ministries who are actually the sponsoring ministries who actually are responsible for implementation of those PSDP funded projects. And then we actually divided the 6 provinces to manage those projects and then oversee an M&E of those projects, M&E. And they have their own internal M&E systems in ministries and the provinces, and that is the website. Audit and control, we have the Auditor General of Pakistan, so that is actually mainly responsible for the fiscal transparency and financial audits and control, internal control systems, and these type of things. And legal framework for the legal framework for the evaluation is we don't have any approved evaluation policy so far, but we have developed we have taken a lot of initiatives in strengthening of the M&E system at the Planning Commission level. We have the M&E framework, we have the M&E wing actually, who is only responsible for this M&E of these projects. And then, yes, we are sharing these reports with the parliamentarians, with the ministers and cabinet, prime minister, who are actually to take action and corrective measures. SDGs, we are also implementing the SDGs, and we are developing a MIS system at the federal level, but we have some very good example at the province level for the MIS system for the SDGs. Next, please. Next, please. Next, I'm not getting the. Actually, we have the. Yes, EOPs, the Pakistan Evaluation Association, I'm the part of this association that was established in 2016, and we are also making and promoting this evaluation in the public and the private sector. We have done the translation, the TAG criteria in O2, and some others. We have taken the initiatives. We have the evaluation youth chapter and etc. Next, please. We are actually now developing the partnership with the public sector, especially the Planning Commission for its strengthening. We are in the process of the MOU signing and to actually support this Planning Commission in developing this policy, and hopefully will be shortly will be in the formal partnership with the public sector, especially the federal government, in strengthening of the M&E system policy, especially approval of the policy, etc. Next, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kazim Basha. And now we will move to further into our country presentations. So Fiji is unable to make it today, so sorry about that. We move forward. And now I'm going to invite Nazgul Itmematova, and she's the member of Kyrgyz Network of MNE. Nazgul, the floor is yours.
Maha, we can't hear.
Yes, Maha.
Hello. Hi.
Do you hear
can
me?
you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So Nazgul Itmematova, member of Kyrgyz Network of MNE. Now I'm going to invite her for her presentation. Nazgul, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. So my name is Nazgul. I'm a member of Kyrgyz Monitoring and Evaluation Network, and it's a pleasure to present some key highlights for the Kyrgyz Republic. So speaking about the institutional arrangements for evaluation, so the country started from 2014 up to nowadays, developed and is developing some regulatory frameworks of monitoring and evaluation. So these regulations cover mostly such topics as evaluation of effectiveness of public administration, introducing of monitoring and evaluation to laws, adoption of the concept on the application of evaluation tools, and the integration of the monitoring and evaluation system to assess the socio-economic development. For the last years, Kyrgyzstan has been facing many challenges in the political arena. And for example, the government changed from the parliamentary government to presidential form of government. We amended the constitution. But and all these changes, they of course impact and influence the sustainable development goals. Actually, SDGs in the Kyrgyz Republic, they are integrated in the national plans. For example, the last national midterm strategy up to 2026, and the coordination of the SDGs is up to the political and economic research of the president's office. And the statistics, the tracking of the indicators, sharing the indicators achievement, it's up to the National Statistics Committee. And so in the slide we've shared with some resources who are interested to learn more in detail about the Sustainable Development Goals in the Kyrgyz Republic. So next slide, please. Maha? Yeah, thank you very much. So as for the capacities of ROPEs, Kyrgyz National Monitoring and Evaluation Network has been created in 2008 by 26 members. It was a commercial research organization. And now it has 93 members. They are represented by academia, by private sector, and the network also includes the representatives of Tajikistan, Russia, and Kazakhstan. Beside the Kyrgyz Network on Monitoring and Evaluation, it's a member of the International Organization for Cooperation in Evaluation. It's a member of Eurasian Alliance of National Organizations here, and it also participates in IRAP. So up to now, Kyrgyzstan succeeded in creating some champions of change at national level. And this happened due to several key events that we held in Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyz Republic. For example, in 2014, we had an annual conference on international program evaluation. Then in 2016, we had the interparliament meeting on monitoring and evaluation. In 2017, we had the third Val Partners Global Forum in Bishkek, which resulted in acceptance of Bishkek Partnership Statement. In 2019, we had a regional parliamentarian forum on Eurasian region in Bishkek, which resulted in a regional parliamentary forum establishment on monitoring and evaluation promotion. So despite this success, we have some challenge to institutionalize the evaluation. As I said, the political instability steady reshuffling, government restructuring. So also the recent parliamentary election, they also had some influence here on the sustainability of the monitoring and evaluation system in Kyrgyzstan. So because of these changes, the Kyrgyz monitoring and evaluation network remains the only institutional memory. And nowadays, the network shares, it is a platform for academia, for the private sector, for researchers to interact with each other. The network has its mailing list and very often shares with the capacity building opportunities in Kyrgyzstan and around the world. Next slide, please. Talking about the partnerships for professionalization. So the National Monitoring and Evaluation Network interacted with the Kyrgyz Parliament. So we formulated evaluation policy and held some training in frames of adoption resolution on monitoring and evaluation. So the network expert developed the monitoring and evaluation refresher course for the parliamentarians. So we interact with the parliament to develop the national review report and roadmap. Then we interact with the academy, with academia, and try to integrate some many courses into the curriculum. So in the future, Kyrgyz network on monitoring and evaluation, they plan to continue working with the partners, the parliament, the president office, and academia to continue the work they started. And we are also open to cooperate with other group members to develop and to share our best practices on the professionalization of the evaluation. Thank you very much. Yeah, and
Thank you so much, Nazgul, for that detailed presentation. Now I'm going to invite Benedictus de Vargas Pantoro, the President of Indonesia Development Evaluation Community, for his presentation. Welcome.
Hope you hear me well. So a little bit of information about the Indonesian arrangement for evaluation is that the Indonesia has a supreme audit institution. It's called BPK, Audit Board of the Republic of Indonesia. It's quite independent because they report to the public, and the House of Representatives that has a specific function to supervise the policy and performance of the executive government occasionally commission the evaluation or examination to be precise, because this audit board often focus on the financial and administrative audit only for the purpose of assessing the financial compliance and investigating fraud or corruption. So there are some administrative regulation about evaluation or use of evaluation in different field and sector. As you can see in the slide, I grouped them into 4 areas: planning, finance, sectoral, and governance or / delivery. In the planning area, there's a Bappenas or National Development Planning Agency, who is the main institution, who take a strategic role for evaluating the quality of plan, implementation of plan, and impact of the development plan. And in the finance area, we have Ministry of Finance, of course, with, as the leading agency in evaluating how well the budgeting and financing policy works or perform. And there's an internal audit board as well, who also plays some role in evaluating or examining the performance of government agency, but particularly in the budget and project implementation delivery. In the sectoral area, as you can see, different various ministry, and also in addition to that, we have Ministry of Home Affairs and also Ministry of State Apparatus, who actually have different regulation also doing the evaluation. For SDG, we have Bappenas, who has a secretariat for SDG, and there is a strong MIS to track the progress of the SDG. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, sorry. Yes, so as you can see, our member is quite various, but mostly dominated by professional. We don't have parliament. Mostly we have discussion in a WhatsApp group, and also some online sharing discussion on different topic. We have Evaluate, Eval SDG as well, but Evaluate just recently established. Eval SDG need to be revitalized again with good engagement with SDG Secretariat. But we don't have parliamentary forum and thematic group for NFPs as well. Next slide, please. And we don't really have a formal arrangement for engaging the government stakeholders for strengthening the NFPs, and no intense and no structure, very informal engagement. We do have identify several champions, but that's about it, I guess, for our approach in partnership for NFPs. If you have any question, then let us know. Next slide, maybe you can take note the contact.
Thank you so much. Now we have another last poll. It's going to be, we're just going to take 1 minute. So I'm going to launch it, and here's, as per your experience, what works well in stimulating evaluation culture? We would like to hear your opinion, and if you have any other option apart from the given ones, please feel free to write it in the chat box as well. We see the responses coming in. We'll just give a few more seconds. Okay, so we see that most of you have already voted. Let me share the result. As you see there, we see that most of you are saying that active participation of stakeholders in the process of development, advocacy, and implementation can be a very good point. And another thing that we see is promoting evidence-based policy making. And equal number of percentage of the participants have mentioned that routine conversations on monitoring and evaluation at all level and establishing linkages with communities, sectors, and organization, can be a very effective way of stimulating evaluation culture. Thank you so much for giving us your point, and this is very helpful. Let's carry on with the country presentation. Now, we have a presentation from Mongolia. We have Batshugar Chedendamba, and so he's the member of Mongolia Evaluation Network, and here's the presentation all the way from Mongolia.
Thank you very much. So I'm Batshugar, my name is Batshugar, and I'm representing Mongolian Evaluation Network, and I'm also board member of Asia Pacific Relations Association. So for national evaluation policy and systems in Mongolia, it's undergoing certain amendments and transformations for the last couple of years. There isn't dedicated law on evaluation, but evaluation has been embedded in certain legal frameworks, laws, and regulations. So key law related to the evaluation is law on development policy planning and regulation on policy planning and M&E in public sectors, all of which has been updated in recent couple of years, and also the law on national audit and other relevant legal documents has been updated due to the amendment to the Constitution of Mongolia in 2020. And also the main core institution for managing and coordinating M&E in public sector is Department of Monitoring and Evaluation and Internal Audit of the Cabinet Secretariat of Mongolia. And each ministries and downstream agencies of the government has M&E departments as well. But there will be a new ministry established in next year. The Ministry of Economic Development will be responsible for managing all the national development policy planning and evaluation probably. So related to structural change, establishment of the new ministry, I think the current system change a little bit. Problem gap that we have at this point is culture of using the evaluation for the purpose of public management, accountability, policy planning is really well established. And there's a problem of gaps in capacity and both in public and private institutions. Slide, please. So in terms of capacity supporters, currently we have Mongolian Evaluation Network, which is in its early stage of establishment and mainly a platform for discussion and engagement of various stakeholders in evaluation. But I was happy to learn that there's also a new block emerging, the Mongolian Evaluation Association, which has aimed to build capacity in evaluation and promoting the advocacy for evaluations. So pretty much the capacity supporters are in their nurturing and early stages establishment and formation. I think my time is out, so probably you can see the other information from the slides as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Bad Sugar. Just to let you know that you can, if you want to discuss anything later, anything important that you've missed out, you can do that in the session when we are going to be discussing the country presentations. Over
sure, of course.
Thank you so much. Now we have Maria Ana Pulido from Philippines. She's the Vice President of Philippine Evaluators for Development. Maria, your floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all participants of this regional dialogue. Evaluation policies and systems started in the Philippines as early as 1987 through Executive Order 230, which mandated the Socio-Economic Planning Agency of our country, the National Economic Development Authority, to reorganize and to monitor and evaluate the implementation of the Philippine Development Plan. In line with government's continuing efforts to improve on all the components of the public sector management cycle, planning, budgeting, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation, National Economic Development Authority and the Department of Budget and Management developed a National Evaluation Policy Framework, which primarily aims to provide a framework for the purposive conduct of evaluations in the public sector in support of good governance, transparency, accountability, and evidence-based decision-making. This policy framework is initially envisaged to apply to programs and projects being implemented by all government entities or its instrumentalities. This framework was encompassed in the Joint Memorandum Circular of 2015. This joint circular was issued with the following objectives: support for evidence-based decisions, ensuring program improvement, ensuring accountability. So all projects and programs implemented by the entities I just mentioned, supported by all local and foreign funds, are evaluated at least once at the end of their program or project life cycle, or as frequent as necessary. This includes projects, programs executed by civil society organizations and other third parties under contract to a government implementing agency. For the operationalization of the evaluation policy framework, an interagency evaluation task force and its secretariat was established in accordance with DBM policies, rules, and regulations on organizational and staffing pattern changes. So, guiding principles, evaluation standards, they were guided by evaluations to address at the minimum following questions covering 4 areas: relevance, effectiveness, efficiency, and sustainability, ensuring evaluation competencies, observing standards of ethics in undertaking evaluations, preparing evaluation plans in accordance with best practices, undertaking evaluations with due regard for impartiality, and reporting, dissemination, and use of evaluations. In 2016, through the Department of Budget and Management, National Budget Circular 565 was issued. This is the results, management, monitoring, evaluation, and reporting policy was adopted. Thank you for this opportunity to present in this regional dialogue.
Thank you so much, Maria. And now this was the last country presentation. And now that we've covered the 11 countries, we would like to hear a discussion on the perspective of young and emerging evaluators. So for that, I'm going to invite Dorothy May Albinto, who is the co-leader of Evaluate Asia. Hi, Dorothy.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank our presenters for sharing country updates on national evaluation policies and systems. And I particularly would like to thank those who have highlighted the support and the work that they have been doing with and for our EVAL Youth National chapters in order to build the capacities of our YEEs in the region. But moving forward, in order to ensure that we will have more competent evaluators in the future, we need countries to continue advocating for the creation and strengthening of an enabling environment for the professionalization of evaluation and institutionalizing the engagement of young and emerging evaluators in decision-making bodies at all levels. As second, Honorable Natalia and other speakers on the need to push for academic programs and trainings on M&E from bachelor's, master's, and PhD in our countries. And this is particularly important for us YEEs so that we can gain the essential knowledge and skills to become competent evaluators. We really do appreciate what some VOBEs have been doing with and for our YEEs in the region. But that said, I want to emphasize it as young and emerging evaluators are the future leaders of our organizations. As part of your succession plan, we invite VOPEs to continue to take the lead in providing a platform for YEEs to develop our leadership skills and institutionalize the involvement of YEEs in your VOPEs, not just as members, but also members of the board. Over the past year, I've come across young and emerging evaluators telling me that they have joined a lot of the webinars that we have organized and promoted, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. But sadly, they couldn't find opportunities to practice their new learnings from these webinars. And this really saddens me because these YEEs are really enthusiastic about pursuing a career in evaluation, but are not given the chance to start. I hope that just as someone took a chance to hire and train me as an evaluation assistant 5 years ago when I wanted to start a career in evaluation but didn't know where to start and how to start, we hope that VOPEs, parliamentarians, and other organizations would provide opportunities for YEEs to apply and practice what we have learned. You can do this by institutionalizing programs such as mentoring and coaching to provide opportunities for YEEs to learn from our senior evaluators. And we at EVAL Youth Asia, along with our national chapters and YEM members, are really excited and ready to take part in whatever way we can to support evaluation initiatives in our countries, in our regions, towards the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. And we really, really hope to continue working with all of you in the coming years to strengthen the national evaluation policies and systems in our countries and in the region. We are ready, so just let us know, and we're willing to take part and participate in and collaborate with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dorothy, for that perspective coming from a young and emerging evaluator. So that is great to hear, and I hope all the VOPEs and the country representatives are taking notes on how to sort of, create those opportunities for the YEEs. So now we have a very interesting discussion on country presentations. So in this session, Rajini and I will be taking your questions, your comments, and we will be discussing with our country presenters all the things that, they've shared. So before we begin, I think we should if we can, we don't have a poll set up for this, but if you can, by the show of hands or by typing in yes and no, Let me know if you learned anything new about your country or your neighboring country. So in the chat box, write yes or no if you've learned something new about your country or your neighboring country. So let's begin with that. Let's type in. I just want to quickly see, because I sure did. I learned a lot. I'm from Pakistan, and I learned a lot from Kazim's presentation, and I learned a lot about other countries as well. So what's your take on that, Rajini? How was the experience, learning experience for you so far?
Wow, I was actually really, amazed to hear about India. Even though I'm here in India right now, I actually got to learn a lot about India itself. And since I'm from Nepal as well, so I was very proud to see all the progress that are being happening there. And yes, it was definitely a learning experience for me as well.
Amazing, amazing. So now we'll begin with the questions, and there was one posted for Nicholas. So let's begin with that. So Nicholas, there's a question for you. Hope you're there. And it says that, have you come across of good practice of political sites taken up evaluation promotion in your review?
That's actually a very good question, and I'm thinking about the Corona pandemic now, and I would say that there are a lot of bad practices and success stories of evaluation promotion. So I would say, for example, in Switzerland, it was quite successful promoting evaluation also to evaluating the crisis management in Switzerland. That would be one success story in my eyes. And in Germany, we have a lot of discussions now about evaluation, or we had a lot of discussions in the last months, but you cannot really see that we have more evaluation use. In other disciplines, mostly we find evaluations now in the public health sector, but we don't really find like a general tendency of evaluation use, for example, to also evaluate the crisis management in Germany. So that would be a negative example, and Switzerland, in my eyes, would be a positive example. And yes, in my eyes, also a success story of promoting evaluation.
And Maha, just taking the reference of Nicholas, his presentation, Yatin has very interesting point to mention here. He's basically talking about the under the professionalization effort. You know, like many regions, they've worked on their regular journal. And there's a very interesting point he has made over here. Can APIA take lead to establish a journal in Asia Pacific? Does anyone want to respond on that? Or maybe Asela or anyone from APIA? Okay. So Yatin, what do you want to just like elaborate a bit on your point?
Yes, thank you, Rajni. If you look across the globe, American Evaluation Association has their own journal. European Evaluation Society has a journal. The African Evaluation Association, the regional VOP in Africa, has a journal. So we see that these, apart from just engaging professionals, they are through these academic journals, they are also engaging with the researchers, academia, and making them contribute to the research and bringing that practice into research, and both ways rather, and research into practice, and then creating a dialogue within those countries. And if something like that can happen in Asia Pacific as well, because in our region we have our own context, and so we see publications being made by people in our region in other journals, outside journals, and many, as Nicholas rightly pointed out, many journals which are not specifically about evaluation, but which publish evaluation in that specific sector or on that specific theme. If we can have a journal which can do that, it might help us, because then we can also address other issues related to systems and policies and other things in the region, apart from just talking about evaluation studies in those research.
Thank you
Of
so
course,
much.
it will take time. Like we'll have to find some regional institutions which will host it, which will anchor the process. Maybe university in Sri Lanka or Asian Institute of Technology or some such standard, a big name which can anchor it and continue it for a few years. But we'll have to look for partners to do that.
Thank you so much, Jitin. That really is a brilliant idea. Now, my question is from Kudratullah. You mentioned about this story, a very personalized story about Afghanistan and all that it has went through in the last few months. So my question from you is that what do you think, what can the international community or what can this regional, in this regional Asia Pacific, what can the community do to help Afghanistan with its, actions regarding evaluation? So anything from the community that might be helpful?
Yeah, thank you so much, Maha. Thank you for this question. And we have been working at the Afghan Evaluation Society, which I'm representing today. We were working on a kind of a small concept, a short concept, concise note to the evaluation community on where they can help and how can we help evaluation community in Afghanistan. And one of the major tasks that we recommended in that and that I'm going to share here is capacity building, because unfortunately, with the recent event, Afghanistan lost its, skilled professionals, including myself. I mean, I was in Kabul and I have left the country now and I'm somewhere else. So the same has happened with other professionals from Afghanistan, and there is a need for capacity building of M&E professionals in Afghanistan. People not only working with the future government, but including with the NGOs and development projects and humanitarian projects. So that's one thing, capacity building, and mostly we're thinking of virtual and remote opportunities for those Afghans who have access to internet. The second is there's a more general call, that's humanitarian support, because Afghanistan is facing a huge economic crisis, and unfortunately with the winter already going in and the winter has started, it's getting worse. So there is need for humanitarian support to the people who are displaced or who are hit by this crisis and who do not have access to very basic food and non-food items. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maha, there is one important question. So this is for Taka. So very interesting point that everyone want to learn about. So Japan had evaluation law since 2002, and now there's a lot of questioning about the relevance of this law. And could you please just elaborate more on this point, on this issue, this concern, so that other countries may also learn from you all, like how it happened and what could be the major point that we have to really, keep our eye on and be cautious about.
Right. Okay. Sorry, I was just sending a chat message that I would have to go very soon. But very quickly, thank you so much for your question. And me as a member of a JES, Japan Evaluation Society, but I'm coming from a UN background with a climate change evaluation background, so I'm not, let's say, qualified to be properly answer to that question. But on top of my head, in short, a lot of contextual situations have contributed to this birth of legalization or enactment of the law, because just before the year 2000, there has been much of the public administration reform pressure. And again, the Prime Minister Hashimoto at that time, and I think Prime Minister Koizumi, I'm pretty sure some of you, his name ring a bell. but leadership of the Hashimoto style carried on to Koizumi style, whereby much of the privatization, shrinking the government roles and budget, etc. So this type of contextual pressure did, I think, contribute a lot to this legalization of evaluation. And of course, having said that, this type of debate never ends, whereby frame or legality itself, law itself would be just a one step. And if there is not much, so to say, content or inside, then it's just a name without much of the content. So there has been, of course, much debate, I would like to say, among very selected people, especially the members of JS. But as I was just saying, because before this meeting, I was looking at the number of papers written with this mention of the law. There has not been many at all. So that's definitely a question about the cross-silo or interdisciplinary type of nature is definitely one. So yeah, okay, I'm speaking too much, but that's on top of my head.
Thank you so much. So Maha, do you want to take any question, or shall we just here ask our participant if they want to share anything from their country?
So please go ahead. So if there's anyone in the audience who would like to share anything from their country, please let us know. Please unmute your mic or use the option of raising the hand, and you can speak up then. So meanwhile, I was just scrolling the chat box, and I'm really glad to see so many positive responses to that question I asked in the beginning of if you did learn something new about your country. And this is really making me happy that it's sort of like the purpose of this dialogue, so that we can learn about evaluation policies and systems in our country, as well as what all other good things that are happening elsewhere. So great to know that. So is there anybody from the, okay, so I do see a hand raised. So it's Natalia. Please go ahead, unmute your mic.
Yes, just the short comment regarding the Japan. The question was about like the legislation that Japan has on monitoring and evaluation from 2002. I just can tell about the experience of my country, the Kyrgyz Republic. We also have the legislation, the law on monitoring and evaluation from 2012. And definitely law is something that changes all the time because the country is changing, the situation is changing. So there should be also evaluation for legislation. And what we did in our country, we developed a special methodology, guidelines, evaluation methodology for legislation, for laws, and a separate methodology how to evaluate the governmental state programs, national programs. This methodology was made for the parliament, parliamentarian committees, which initially have function of oversight and control, but it's not always, let's say, instrumentalized and equipped with proper evaluation tools and methodologies. So we tried to do it in our parliament. We were quite successful. So we adopted a special regulation, an act for the parliament that approved those methodologies. And we also used that to try to do evaluation of some very important, significant legislation. And I think that the next step that we really planned, this is to do evaluation by this methodology of the law about monitoring and evaluation itself, because it needs really a checkpoint with time, etc., why it's working or not working properly. So I would like to share, we're more than open to share with our methodology. It might be useful for the parliaments, maybe for evaluators to suggest and offer their partners from the parliaments how to use this methodology and to try to do evaluation of different legislation, including the evaluation system itself and legislation on evaluation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I think this is it. If there is any other question that you have, even after the event, if you have any question to any of the speaker, or please feel free to write to us. We'll definitely get back to you. Now we have Oyuna Chulundorj to share about the key lesson learned and partnership for strengthening NEPs in Asia Pacific. Oyuna is, just to give a brief introduction, she is a regional M&E advisor in UNFPA Asia and Pacific Regional Office. And Oyuna, floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Jani, colleagues. Good morning, good afternoon. Thank you so much for this great opportunity to participate in this very important dialogue. It was really fascinating to hear about country experiences and also results of the Evaluation Globe and NEP studies. And one common theme was repeatedly emphasized by all speakers and presenters today, and that is about the necessity to engage and coordinate among many different stakeholders to have a strong national evaluation policies and systems to accelerate the agenda. 2030. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great.
Yes,
sorry.
all right.
I thought I lost you. Yeah. And yet this change is a very complex process and it takes time and effort. And we're talking about the change in mindset and change in will and political commitment that needs to be shared by many players. So these include government officials responsible for establishing and overseeing the overall functioning of national evaluation systems. We're talking about civil servants who manage resources and make decisions, including those decisions that are related to conduct of evaluations. We're talking about WOPES, academia, CSO, public and development partners. We've heard from many country experiences today that having champions in the government, in the parliament, and raising awareness among government officials and parliamentarians is a necessary step to put in place or improve evaluation policies, processes, standards and guidelines and budgets to ensure, and also to ensure availability and quality of administrative data and their access for evaluation purposes. And capacity and motivation also needs to be in place to implement these policies and guidelines once they're in place. The need to educate those who demand evaluations, especially civil servants, and is highlighted as an important aspect of national evaluation policies and systems by many presenters today. And this is not about training civil servants to become evaluation experts, but to equip them with a skill to understand the need for evaluative evidence and demand evaluations, to manage evaluations, to ensuring quality and ethical standards, to disseminate evaluation results and promote a culture that sees value in good quality evaluations and also is motivated to share the evaluation results with the public and use them in their decision-making policies and programs. We've heard that strong WOPES demanding and advocating for evidence-based policy making and for strong national evaluation policies and systems, contributing with technical expertise to strengthen government capacities or capacities of other players, facilitating peer exchange are very important building blocks in this process. And we have heard today many examples of how strong WOPES help to shape up the NEPs in countries. And there are so many lessons learned from this experience that also can benefit the countries who are working to establish strong national evaluation policies and systems. And this is in addition to the significant work that WOPES lead or engaged with with the professionalization of evaluations. I also would like to emphasize the role of CSOs in general, as CSOs represent the voices of the public and also of various population groups, and they are crucial contributors to development of countries and play a significant role as a source of evaluative evidence because they themselves also implement development programs, they advocate for policies, and they also commission evaluations. And the roles of CSOs in government evaluation systems tend to be limited, not only in our region, but also across the globe. And this is a missed opportunity for sharing the evaluative evidence and learning between government, CSOs, and other players. And this will be an important area to explore and share experiences in the future dialogues to establish national evaluation policies and systems. CSOs produce evaluative evidence and can increasingly share them within and beyond national boundaries and can strengthen capacities of governments, peer CSOs. They also play an important role in assessing performances of government policies, programs, and international commitments. So the same opportunity needs to be also explored in relation to partnership with the private sector and media that we also heard from some of the presenters today. We also heard some examples of how academic and research institutions, think tanks can help strengthen national evaluation policies and systems, and not only as evaluation practitioners, but also by providing targeted training programs and evaluations for both evaluation commissioners as well as individual evaluators. And they also take a part and can further strengthen their efforts in advocating for national evaluation policies and systems together with other players. And at last, development partners, including UN agencies, have an important role to play in strengthening NAPs as evaluation commissioners, as advocates for national evaluation policies systems, as providers of technical assistance to develop context-specific systems, processes, and tools, and capacities to governments and to all other relevant partners. So it's very challenging to fully capture in 5 minutes all the rich presentations, key lessons learned, and partnerships for strengthening NAPs in the region. But I really hope that I was able to highlight a few important common points that came out from a vast pool of country experiences and lessons learned that we had today. So with that, I would like to hand over back to you, Maha and Rajani, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Oyona. And yes, absolutely. I think you covered the key highlights pretty well. So thank you for giving us that quick summary and a quick recap. Now it is my honor to invite Asela Kalugumpatia, the President of Asia Pacific Evaluation Association. Hi, Asela. Hope you were able to find your name in the word puzzle.
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you very much for great moderation both by you and Rajni, and also great event. And I'm happy to speak in this event today. It's of course great pleasure because we had so many presentations. Of course, from Nicholas about this institutionalization of evaluation, the Evaluation Globe project in Europe, where there are very interesting findings where we can also learn from, and at the same time the research conducted in Asia Pacific region about national evaluation policies and systems, where our co-leaders of the national evaluation policies and systems, Yatin and Samantha presented, and also the country presentations. And this is the second virtual national evaluation policies and systems dialogue we held last year. Also December we had, and this is kind of the fifth regional event we held, because there were 3 face-to-face events before last year, one in Colombo, and also there was one next to dialogues next to APIA conferences, and with that note we see that there is a lot of enthusiasm and also hard work on to promote national evaluation policies and systems. So that's why we want to promote it more through the dialogues. At the same time, I see that through country presentations, there are many new aspects coming up, promoting young and emerging evaluators, capacity building of young and emerging evaluators, as well as working with parliamentarians, and capacity building on monitoring and evaluation, to name few. And young and emerging evaluators aspect has been very vibrant component now. At the same time, engaging parliamentarians. Recently, we just concluded evaluation training for parliamentarians, parliaments in the Asia Pacific region, together with Global Parliamentarians Forum for Evaluation, as well as IPTAC, the world famous training. So these stakeholders are joining with us to promote the evaluation culture in the region. So I see that in future we have a long way to go, of course. At the same time, a lot to do, and at the same time, I feel that stakeholders are getting together, and that is the strength we have. And I would like to take this opportunity also to appreciate, great suggestions came in this discussion. One is about Asia Pacific Journal on Monitoring and Evaluation, or evaluation. That is one aspect definitely we need to address, because in many regions, many countries in developed world have evaluation journals, but not in this region we don't have. That is one of the gaps we definitely we need to address, and a great suggestion. So like that, APIA will together with other partners try to address these suggestions, and hopefully by next year we will have more progress, I hope. And definitely next year also in December we will have next dialogue. Before that, I would like to invite all the VOPs, all the country representatives, and different other partners to work with APIA to have more progress, so we can celebrate more progress on national evaluation policies and systems before the next year event. Also, I want to thank our great moderators, Maha and Rajni. They did a great job here. And all the presenters, Nicholas, it was very early for him. I think he started the day today at least 4 a.m. To join this because he's based in Germany, join this event. Thank you, Nicholas. And Yatin and Samantha for presentations, and Veronica, of course, early for her. She's from Europe, and Soma De Silva joined us, discussants, and all the country presenters, as well as Oyuna, who was always supportive for the whole regional program. Thank you, Oyuna. With your support, we could make great progress in the region. That is very helpful. And Randika, Hasiti, Madhuka, and all the production team. I cannot mention all the names, but there are many people behind this, organizing this production team, communication team, APC Hub, and organizing committee members. So I thank everyone for this great event, and I wish you all the best, and also all the best for the coming new year. And hopefully we will work together on this and make more achievements and more progress regarding national evaluation policies and systems in this region, and make this region a model that evaluation culture is well established. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Asela, for that lovely note, and having those high ambitions. And I'm just going to take a moment and let you all know about this global mapping of the status of National Evaluation Policies report that is being launched. Please head out to this URL to access the report. And next.
Yeah, and now I would like to invite Yatin to give closing remarks. He is lead of NEP's team.
Thank you everyone for joining us today at this event on the NEP's discussion consultation event, where we had a very interesting discussion. And Asel has already thanked all the people who are behind this event and all the participants, so I will not take time on that. What we are planning to do next is that we will publish a report based on this event in a couple of months and start with the next cycle of the surveys. And this time we'll try to reach out to more countries, more OPs, and also to public institutions, designated public institutions for evaluation in these countries, to get a perspective from the government systems as well. Because many a times things which are happening within the government which are not completely finalized and put in public domain might not be known to all the partners or OPs, even if they are working with them. So we'll try to include more people in our surveys in future. And so we look forward to continued interaction with all of you and a healthy discussion on this theme. And hopefully in the next few years, all countries will have a strong monitoring and evaluation system in the region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yatin. So Asela have already extended his, Big thanks to the team, and here are the pictures that you can see how relentlessly they've been working. Thank you to our APC Hub, and special thanks to our lead organizers. Thank you so much.
So thank you all again for joining this session. And again, please visit the asiapacificeval.org to visit their calendar, because there's a great lineup of events from 13th till 19th. So hopefully you'll be able to enjoy these as well. And as part of the second anniversary of Evaluate Asia, there's a very special event coming up on 14th of December, and you will be able to meet 7 influential women leaders from 7 regions. So please don't miss out on that. And also on 15th, IRIPE is also turning 2, and they've also organized a special event where they will be sharing the challenges and opportunities in professionalization of evaluation. So please don't miss that event as well. And again, I'm going to thank all the speakers, all the country presenters, and all the members in the audience who've joined us today for joining in, for sharing all the information that you did, for helping us learn and grow together. So thank you for joining in. These are our Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and email handles, and you will be able to access us through these contact details. So keep in touch. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I really see good conversation happening here. Let's continue that in our social media handles as well. And it was really a great pleasure to be part of this event and to be among you all. And Maha, it was a pleasure to be co-moderating this event with you.
Likewise,
Yeah, and so glad to work with a great production team. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Asela, for this opportunity.